25 years, which is why we're almost concluding with the unveiling of Nairobi Vision 2050 steering committee. In the next 25 years, we'll have 10.5 million people in the city of Nairobi. Of course, there is a huge strain on the infrastructure as we speak. There's need for us to avoid what we call urban decay or urban sprawl, which is why our development control proposals at the assembly are to increase the heights, But it's not increasing the heights without thinking about the amenities and the utilities. And I will break down to you what we're doing with water and sewer. And many will tell you they're getting more water, but I'll explain why and how and what is happening with that respect. Chair, you have urban decay in areas where somebody has to travel from Kamulu to go drop their child to school in Makini and go to work in Westlands, or go to hospital at Mama Lucy on Kangundo Road. Yet, each of these estates should be able to have all of these amenities. That is what had been before. You'd have a health center, you'd have a market, you have a hospital, you have a school, and possibly many people would work around that area. Now, avoiding urban sprawl is not creating a concrete jungle. Any globally acclaimed urban planner will tell you that is where the world is moving to. You'll be shocked. And this one you can Google and search or research in any way. In the east coast of the US, the greenest part of the US is Manhattan. That is considered the greenest part based on carbon emissions. And it is that way because they have done what we call densification. With that densification, more people are walking, they're using less fuel, the emissions are much lower, people can cycle to work, they can walk to work, and that is how you create a city that is, geared towards the future. We're dealing with climate action. Remember, Chair, this is not just a Nairobi problem, it's an African context problem. In the 1950s, 22% of the world's population was in Europe, only 7% in Africa. Where we're going to, in that 2050, 1 out of 4 people will be living on the continent of Africa. And of those 1 out of 4, 25%, 65% will be in our urban areas. So what we're doing is something that should be replicated in our urban areas on the continent and in Kenya, in our counties. It needs to be replicated. Otherwise, you'll have sprawling informal settlements, you'll have poor quality of life. And so when we're doing these estates, we're putting into mind the need for urban areas, green urban spaces, recreation facilities, water, sewer provision, the issues of traffic. Now, when it comes to, and of course on infrastructure, this is the reason why, and you've mentioned the flooding and the roads etc., why we're still putting up a very big fight as the governors on the issue of the road maintenance fuel levy. And I want to thank the Senate. The Senate has been resolute on this. And a lot of our leaders, especially the Right Honorable Prime Minister, has spoken about it time and time again, that it cannot be that every Kenyan pays for fuel levy when they buy fuel. They pay for it. Inadvertently, everyone pays for it. And then there are two categories of roads, national and county, but you want this money only on the national roads. You come to a city like Nairobi, you find like the major arteries that everyone is talking about and has a problem, Jogo Road, for instance, Agwins Kodhek, go to Juja Road, are not managed by the county. The funds are not there with the county, but when people hit those bumps, the name that is easiest to pronounce is Sakaja. Let us have the responsibility with the resources. The members of parliament cannot want to control infrastructure and plan citywide or countywide, yet the area of focus is so narrow. And I gave an example. I don't want to give a specific member, but if you have a member of parliament who has a huge informal settlement and also a middle class settlement, for instance, Upper Hill and Kibra, or Hurlingham and Kawangware, or Westlands and Kangemi, when they get money through Kera, and I don't know why Kenya rural roads is in Nairobi, but anyway, they are. When they get money, they will not put it in Westlands Supermarket or Jogo Road, which traverses more than 4 constituencies, or Hurlingham, or even areas like Jericho. They will put it where the votes are. But a county government is able to think holistically at the connectivity between these areas. So, Chair, on infrastructure, I think we need more support. And counties should also be allowed to resource it. Remember, RMLF, a component of it, I think 25%, is being securitized. But it's being securitized by the national government. Why is it that the national government can go borrow, securitize, and do all that for their projects, but not for county projects? For you to build a city of the future, the amount of money you need is way more than what we collect, and way more than what we get from equitable share. Even if we push to 450, Nairobi will just move from 20 to 23 or 24. So, Chair, on that one, I just want to thank.
Point of order, Chair. Chair, I think that if the governor restricted himself to answering specifics, we would move a bit faster.
Yeah, specifically what is about infrastructure?
I think you should go to pointed answers, Governor, because if we sit here and listen to all these stories, we might not be here. We know what our position is on RMLF. We know what the position of our party leader is. Maybe you can tell us about your party leader's position. But let us answer the specific questions that have been raised so that we move a bit faster.
Chair, if you remember what you've asked me, you've been very clear about infrastructure. And
yes, but just I think the point is just being able to summarize. So we have a lot of heads in the room who can be able to.
So, Chair, on the public utilities, and you know, I mean, if you ask a wide question, you'll get a wide answer. You know, I can't summarize when you've asked generally about metropolitan planning. Public utilities. The example I can give is with all of these estates, we know that the population is going to go up, definitely. Chair, you know what we're doing with respect to water. I think I've expressed it in this committee. We've had a huge shortage of water in Nairobi. We've been able to increase 140 million liters per day. For Woodley, there's a new line that will affect Hurlingham, Kilimani, Kileleshwa, coming down from Kabete through to Oleodume, to actually the junction of Pungu Karumba, the new road that connects Ngong Road and Langata Road. That line will serve this estate and the estates around it, including Langata, that has never been getting water. Now we have a new line coming through Karen, which has never gotten by gravity from through Bomas of Kenya. And so, while you have done that, the point that I really want you to understand is that the Nairobi is water scarce. Yeah, we require 900 million liters a day, but we only had 525 million liters a day. We've added 140, but there is still a gap. There are two projects which I would urge you to help us sort out. On Northern Collector 2 and Maragua 4, that will add another 220 million liters a day to serve these estates. It can be done within the next 2.5 years. The financing request, again, is stuck at the national level. So, Chair, I think I'll leave it at that. Remember, with increased water, 75% of it then must be sewer provision. That is how you calculate it. At least with the Nairobi River Regeneration Program, we're doing a 1.8 by 2 meter trunk sewer, 54 kilometers. That will serve population for the next 40 years, but along that corridor. A lot of estates had been, putting direct connections of sewer into the river. But now when you have a trunk sewer on both sides of that one river, remember we start with Nairobi River, phase 2 is Ngong River, which is the most polluted river on the continent, and then Mathare River. With those three, if they also have that component of trunk sewer, and remember these are contracts that are coming with the financing, we should be able to be pretty good when it comes to sewer.
Very well. I think that for the purposes of fairness of time,
yeah, I'll leave it out.
I'll allow your, did you say your chief of staff?
Yeah, chief officer.
Chief officer, I mean,
yeah.
Just 2 minutes in case there is any part that you didn't